Hey guys, it's Yakkin with Nick. I am Nick Hazelton, your host. Oh, sorry. I haven't been. The last 3 weeks I produced one episode. Sorry guys. I'm just busy, and I can make excuses, and I could say, yeah, I was busy, and I didn't have the time because I was doing blah 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 blah. I mean, realistically, I think I spent my time wisely. There, of course, are like times where it's like, yeah, maybe if I took all the time that I wasted on Instagram over the last 3 weeks, I probably could have produced 2 shows. Probably could have done it. The thing is, I only use Instagram for like 5 minutes at a time. I go through there, and it's like a couple times a day. It's a waste of time, but it's way better than it used to be. But at the same time, it's like, man, guys, I really do have stuff going on, and sometimes it's hard to produce a show when, I'm trying to do a specific thing here, and I've got a lot of projects going on. Like I'm making this, I've got a kind of a new project. It's not really new, is the thing. The problem is it just hasn't started. It started, but I haven't picked up. So basically, let me just say, because gets into what I want to talk about today. I want to kind of respond to that last interview with Thaddeus just a little bit. Maybe talk about some other stuff, but basically, what I want to do with Yakkin with Nick is I want to study this culture around the Willamette Valley, right, of Oregon and the Pacific Northwest, and then on out, right. Just kind of want to take my circle of influence and control and just slowly build it up, right, and see what I can learn about the areas around me, because I'm just curious, and I think that this is a unique opportunity. Like, yeah, I could become the best yak farmer in the world. And I was kind of like, that's what I thought I would do when I first started, right? But I've gone along, and I thought this was really interesting. I was listening to Scott Hebert and Drew Sample talk a bit about this on the Sample Hour yesterday. The show was released sometime last week, I think. Anyway, but they were talking about how it's like, I realized that they realized that, man, I'm not just a farmer. I'm more of an entrepreneur. Now, that's an interesting way to looking at it, because their point is like, hey, I'm not doing this just for the sake of farming. I'm doing this because I like doing business. I like projects. I like to talk to people. I like working for myself. And that's why, and it was funny, because I listened to it. I'm like, shit, I've had those exact thoughts where I'm like, man, because sometimes I'm like, fuck yaks. It doesn't happen very often, but it used to. Or I'd just be like, man, why am I even doing this? Like, I don't really like these animals that much. They're pretty cool, and they're way better than cattle, but it's like, I like philosophy. That's at least what I used to think. And now I like farming a bit more. Just because I've done it so much now. And it's like, I know what that involves, because it's like farming isn't just farming. It's so many like different pieces, like building fences, it's animal husbandry, it's building buildings, it's fixing tractors, it's making hay, it's growing vegetables, it's everything, right? It's very complicated system. Where was I going with this? I don't know. I don't remember. I think I was making the point that I was busy, but yeah. Oh yeah. The point is, so yeah, what I realized is I'm not in this because I love farming. I'm in this because I want to build, I want to build a farm, because I do love farming. But it's not that. I don't think that's the main reason. I think the main reason is so that, first of all, I like, the reason why I started is so I could be self-employed, so I didn't have to go to school. That's why I started raising animals. So I had an alternative path to the mainstream, right? So that is a valuable piece to it for me. It's my way of not having to live by society's standards, right? This farm is, because I don't want to go to college. I don't want to buy a house. I don't want to live in a nuclear family unit. That's not my dream. My dream is to have a farm, build a community here, and help my community out, and build a family and a tribe, a community. That's what I want, and this is my way of doing it. And part of that is more than just farming, right? It's a lot of stuff. It's working with people. It's doing this podcast so I can explain to you, what am I doing here? And so we can have some outreach, and so I can have a conversation with the rest of the world, or at least the people that want to listen, right? So that whole 2-minute tangent was for the point that I'm trying to study this culture. And this is why I wanted to talk to Thaddeus Russell, is I'm really trying to become an expert on the Pacific Northwest. I want to, I don't know, why not? It's like nobody's done it, right? I was talking to Thad about this. Nobody's done the super local angle with podcasts. Why can't I do it? And I want to see if I can, because this is where I want to live. Like, yeah, people are like, oh, Nick, you've never seen the world. You don't know where you want to live. Yeah, bitch, I know I want to live here. Like, yeah, you can tell me, no, Nick, you've never traveled. I've got yaks. You've never had yaks. So, come on, folks. Come on. Don't even try to play argumentative games with me. I've been reading logic. Just kidding. I was going to say since I was 15, I didn't finish my joke, but anyway. No, you know what I get my meme? I want to live here, and I do want to become I don't know, an expert on the area. I want to be that old guy who's like, you want to learn something, like, you want to learn something about Oregon. You want to find cool hiking spots? Go to nickhazelton.com or yakkinwithnick.com. He did freaking 3 episodes on some amazing lakes in Oregon. That's what I want to try and figure out how to do with Yakkin with Nick. And I'm figuring that out as we go. And that process is starting. And really what I want to do first is I want to explore the history. Because I think, like, I don't know, if you thinking about the trivia method, do I want to get into this? I'm thinking about learning. So if you want to learn a subject, the trivia method is something me and my friends like to, my libertarian school sucks self-development friends like to use as a kind of a way to structure the learning process. So it starts out with grammar, where you're gathering all of the information about something. So if you're studying the Pacific Northwest, you're gathering all the information about the Pacific Northwest. What grows there? What's the climate like? What are the people like? Where did the people come from? What is the history of this area? What has happened here before? All these different things. Right? It's the grammar point. So you're gathering all the information about it. And then the next part is the logic session, where you're taking all the information you have and you're making it make sense. You're making sure, well, there's 3 pieces of information here. One says that the Kalapuya lived up in the, Cascade Mountains, and you have 2 other ones saying in the Willamette, right? You got to make sure go through there and be like, well, this one is saying something different. So you got to go through and find out, okay, well, why does that not quite make sense? And how do you put this information together so that it makes sense? And the last part is rhetoric, where you apply it to your life. All right. So if I was going through this process, my thing is I'm going to learn the history. I'm going to learn everything that is, at least as much as I can, about what has happened in this area since the beginning of time, or at least the beginning of Earth. Right. I'm going to try. I'm going to see what I can do, man. And then I want to go up through and see how much I can learn about the history, and then once I get a little bit of the history, I'm a little bit satisfied, and probably even before then, I'm going to try and interview more artists. I'll probably do that right away. I've got a guy he's waiting on me. This kid from Corvallis. I need to check out his music. I'm just busy, right? And then local restaurants, business owners, people who are just doing stuff, community organizers, police chiefs. Who knows? I don't know if I want to talk to police chiefs. I thought about that, like as I started, and I've admitted too much of what I like to do illegally. I don't think I can talk to cops. I don't think I can be like introduce myself to these people like, hey, I'm Nick Hazelton. I do psilocybin mushrooms. They don't like that, right? But they can't prove it, right? All I do is I say crazy shit, right? And then I laugh at a lot of it. Am I joking? Who knows, guys? Who knows? So the reason why I wanted to talk to Thaddeus Russell was that in order to study this local history, I think that you have to study the history of the people that came here. So that's both the Native Americans, right? Because they're not totally native from here. Like, what determines native? I don't know. We all came from Africa. They didn't evolve from monkeys in North America. They came across from Asia. At least that's what we think. That's what the common, what do they call it? Scientific consensus is, maybe. And then you got to learn, about the white Europeans that came here too. So I wanted to learn about the American history specifically, and I like Thaddeus Russell's perspective on this. He wrote The Renegade History of the United States, and we talked about it, right? I don't really need to do a recap. Maybe I do, but basically his point is throughout history, and particularly he's focusing on American history, right? There has been this battle between, I guess it's like freedom and authoritarianism almost. He uses the word hedonism and Puritanism because that's kind of what originates. The Puritans were the first ones. Excuse me. The Puritans were the first white people to come and settle in the North American continent, I believe. Like the Vikings maybe were there before, but they didn't really settle. It's like, why not? Why didn't the Vikings? I don't care. That's not what we're talking about. Sorry. And so I think it's really important to look at that history, right? And this is what I'm saying. I'm explaining the renegade history. So his point is that there's been this battle between freedom, hedonism, and Puritanism. Puritanism is trying to control the people and have it set by these strict rules of the puritanical religion, right? Christian Puritans. And then hedonism is like, hey, we like to have fun. Fuck off. Let's do our own thing. And there's been this constant battle between Puritans and hedonists in the United States since then. And it's not really in the sense of that this is what they call themselves, this is the ideology that they subscribe to, but it's really the ideas. They're like, I think that I like the words of like controlling and free, right? Those are the words I like more. The Puritan and hedonism. But that's kind of how it's gone, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And his point is that the only reason why we have true freedom in this country is because of the renegades. The people were like, nah, let's do our own thing, And I like that because that's who I identify with. I feel like I'm a renegade. I feel like I don't know. How else do I say that? I guess that's the thing. So I think that's important. I think I should know that history, and I think I should read the book. But that's why I wanted to talk to him about the American history, because it really it's my history from the perspective of all of my ancestors. No, my ancestors moved here from northern and Central Europe. Is Germany Central Europe? I think it's more Northern Europe, I guess. I think all my people are from Northern Europe. I'm pretty white. So yeah. So that's why I wanted to talk to Thaddeus Russell and learn that American culture, right? Yeah, because it is the history of the Pacific Northwest. So anyway. So that was the point, and I'm not sure I got to that in that episode, if I really got everything, like the whole broad view of American history and how it's played out until they got to now, or how they got to Oregon. I'd like to do that more in depth, but I thought that was a fun conversation anyway, and I thought it got pretty much what I wanted. I think I got it. At least what I came into thinking I wanted, and I got enough. But some people were like, Nick, I didn't know what you're doing there. And they asked me, so I received some feedback, but yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that's what I was going for. And if you didn't get that out of it, then I apologize, but I'm sure we'll do more shows on American history and with Thaddeus in the future. But yeah, I think that I don't know. I think that it's an interesting place, the United States, right? We're one of the what was I going to say? I was going to say like a relatively young country, and we are. Shoot, all my anarchist friends like, you got a yak in your pocket? Shut up. You know what I meant? The United States military and government. Not me. I didn't do anything with this, but it's an interesting place, right? Because it's a mixing pot of a lot of things. This isn't an ethnic group, a cultural group that has been together for thousands of years, like the Romanians or the Slovaks. I don't know anything about like how long, thousands of years. I don't know much, but the Hutus and the Tutsis, all of these different ethnic groups, they've had thousands of years of living together, of pissing each other off and working with each other peacefully, right, at the same time, or at different times probably. Fuck, dude. I just make so much weird little tiny mistakes when I speak. I try to correct them. Anyway, in the United States, we haven't had that. We don't have that history. Sorry, there's a pump going off in the background too. We don't have the history of having a strong ethnic identity. Maybe, you know what I mean, though? Like, we're not like the other ethnic groups, if you want to call American an ethnic group. And I think that gives us a pretty unique space, right? Because, first of all, we have a lot of hard workers. The Puritan work ethic, that's a great thing probably, because that helps you get shit done. And that makes sense to me. And really, these are immigrants who came from the old world, either because they were forced to, because of religious or whatever persecution, or they were people who didn't have the economic opportunity, so they had to go and find more, right? These are people who were like, I'm giving up this life I have for a new one. That's pretty brave. That's pretty brave people who had to do that. And those are people who probably really wanted to succeed. So you see that, right? That's why I think that, I don't know. I haven't studied the culture enough to know this, enough to say that is a significant factor in why Americans are pretty much at the top of the food chain in terms of food chain. That makes us sound like predators. Like, well, you know what I mean, though, right? Pretty much the richest people in the world. Out of anywhere, I'd want to live in either Switzerland, Iceland, or the United States. Those are my top three. Actually, I'd rather live in Nepal. But you know what I mean? Like, it's the civilization factor. We've got it pretty good here. Let's say, like, we're not close to Russia. Actually, we're just across the ocean from Russia. We're not close to anybody dangerous. The Mexicans aren't a problem. Don't listen about the wall. Like, they're not doing shit. They're not doing shit. So anyway, it's a great place to live, and I don't know if that's really the why, the Puritan work ethic, but I think that could be a factor, right? And I think that just this, and it's not just because it's the Puritans that have that. It's because you needed that to survive in this new world. You don't have your family to support you as much. You don't have the community because you haven't built the community yet. You don't have infrastructure that was built by the Romans, right? You don't have like all of this stuff that was built thousands and thousands of years ago because the natives were pretty much hunter-gatherers and barely did anything but, burn the land, which is, I'm not saying that's a bad or stupid thing, right? That's fine. That's the way they lived, and they enjoyed it until they all died of smallpox. So I'm really, like, I feel like I shouldn't say that because that's offensive, but I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just saying, right? That is what happened. There's no moral or entertainment value attached to that. So yeah, that's a big difference, and I think that could be, and of course, untapped natural resources provides a lot of wealth, and then that's how you can see how this culture has developed. But right, if you really, like, I think to understand yourself, you got to understand your parents. And to understand your parents, you got to understand your family history to an extent. And that's hard, right? Because listen, you are your parents. They created you. You have their genetics. You were half them and half the environment you were raised in. And guess what? You were raised by them most of the time, right? So most of you is your parents, right? And it's through family history. And I think that it's important to know your own family history. And I'll be doing that. I'll probably release that on the show just because it's interesting. And and then I'll be releasing a lot of just local history is my plan. But I think that you got to know. You got to know it if you want to know yourself. If you really want to know how is the best way to go about working in this world. You got to look at what have other people done. What has happened in this area? What like that you live in. You got to know. You got to have the grammar work done. So I'm trying to do that, guys. And I don't know what else I guess I could say. I feel like there might be I feel like I didn't explain really what I thought here with this Puritanism versus hedonism versus yeah, I didn't get into that. So anyway, basically that's why I want to get trying to think of I gotta make a right segue here, guys. It's not working. I don't know what I'm doing here. Anyway, so yeah, that's I think it's important to look at the American history, right? And if I'm gonna try and change this culture at all, I gotta know. Gotta know what's going on and what has happened and how I could do it in the first place. So anyway, I wanted to talk about this specific idea with the Puritanism versus hedonism versus Stoicism, and I kind of got into it there with, it's saying that it's, yes, Puritans were one of the first people that came, but it's not necessarily that people in the United States believe in Puritanism or hedonism as like a philosophy. It's more like this is how you would describe them. These are adjectives, not nouns not the names of the philosophy. This is just a way we would describe somebody as hedonist, somebody who's seeking pleasure, or as a Puritan, somebody who's seeking order. I don't think that's or purity. I don't know, man. I guess that's what it is. Still don't really like using that term, and that's why I kind of like the freedom versus control, because I think that makes a lot of sense. And I like this because this jives with what I hear from a lot of people these days. It seems like I listen to a lot of these folks and these media producing folks that are coming out. The more like the ones that aren't super popular, other than Joe Rogan, I guess, and I suppose Jordan Peterson's pretty popular now. But like Jordan Peterson, he has this metaphor of chaos and order. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Puritanism and hedonism. The chaos is the hedonism, where you have your freedom and some fun, right? Chaos can be fun, but if you have too much of it, you get walled in, you can't get out, right? Because chaos is scary. But when you have a little bit, it's like, hey, it's a challenge, and we're having fun. And order is kind of the place where everything's in order, so it's safe, it's maybe comfortable, but it's boring. and it sucks, right? So in this case, applied to American culture and history, it's this, the conservative. Is that the word? Conservative has different meanings. But you get what I mean, right? That kind of hold on to the cultural values and these moral principles we have, and then there's hedonism, where it's more like, let's do what's fun. Let's do what's best for us and not take it so seriously. And you can kind of see that, right? And it's interesting to apply this to these words onto what's happening, because you can see it where some people are really into chaos, some more people are into order. And we brought this up in the last episode. And I think that's important to look at. And it's important to look at us on a personal level. Like I did a show, I think this is episode 14 of Yakkin with Nick, with Brian Sovereign on hedonism versus stoicism. And I thought it was a very interesting show because both of those ideas are very important. And that's what I came to in that interview I did with Brian, was that I guess hedonism is kind of a good place to start, right? It's do stuff for pleasure. Because I think that's a decent place to start, like, because you want to feel good, because it sucks feeling bad. So why not make it life's goal just to feel good? That's kind of what I'm about, and with that understanding comes coupled with, with that belief, it comes with the understanding that it may not be possible to be always happy. You know what I mean? Like, you may not always be happy, and you're going to feel sad and bad, and you're going to have to deal with that. And you got to learn how to deal with that. And that's where stoicism comes in. So I don't really think that these are opposed ideas necessarily. It's not hedonism. It's not, either or. It's yes and a little bit here and there, right? It's a lot more complicated because Stoicism and Puritanism give you the structure, right, that you can deal with the world. I'd say I'm like mixing up the way I'm trying to explain this, But there's the structure, right, that you can cling on to, and you have something that you can fall back on, and you're going to be okay. And then you have this desire to go out and conquer the unknown and to challenge yourself, and to just have fun, and that's the chaos. So you get what I mean? It's a balance between each one. And we brought that up as well on that show with Thad. So yeah, guys, I think that's all I really wanted to say. I think those are like the main important things I wanted to pull out of there is study American culture because, hey, it's your history. If you're from America, if your family's from here, that's your history. If you're from Mexico, study Mexican history because it's interesting, man. Everywhere in the world, guess what? Every people and population has a history. It has a mythos. It has its own culture. You can study it. So that's what I want to do because I think that the Pacific Northwest is unique here. So let me dive into it. Anyway, I've said that a couple times. But I guess that's the point. Is study the history so that you know yourself and your own culture, so that you could become more powerful in the sense that you more able and having more understanding of the world around you. It's quite fun too, guys. It's just a fun time, and I highly recommend other people do similar things as this. Go out and talk to people in your neighborhood just to find out stuff. And then, the second point would be that it's the Puritanism versus hedonism debate is very interesting and it's very important, I think. And I really think that the key lesson to take out of there is structure isn't bad, chaos isn't bad, neither is good in and of themselves, right? It's all balance. It's all nuance, man. So yeah, I could leave you guys with that. But I kind of want to give you an update on the farm. Maybe I should do a farm update later this week. I don't know, guys. Yeah, let's do it later this week. That way I don't have to do it now. We're about 27 minutes. Thank you guys for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this episode and you enjoyed last week's episode. I'm very open to suggestions on this series. If you're local and you want to talk to me, please do it. I'd like to stop doing Skype interviews just because it's fun because I have a lot of people that I know across the country that I like to talk to, but it's not as fun. It's way cooler to do, and it's just better content. So I'd like to start moving away from doing Skype interviews. But anyway, my point was, if you're local and you have somebody you think would be interesting to hear on, or you think you would be good on Yakkin with Nick, or you'd like to talk to me, man, I there's nothing wrong with somebody saying, hey, Nick, I want to be on your podcast. Because if you're comfortable with saying that to me, you better be comfortable with me saying no. Because I might. If you're just not interested in me, I might say nah. And I'm trying to become less and less of a passive person in those situations where I can just be like, no. And I may not be perfect, right? I shouldn't say it. And I'm sure that you're not either, right? But my point is don't feel like you can't be like, nah, Nick, or like, yeah, Nick, let me be on your show. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. And I will be honest with you. So anyway, I'm looking for interviewees, and I'm going to find some, hopefully this week, and I'll get you guys some interesting shows, because I don't like doing these solo shows. I think that I have some interesting stuff to say, and I'm getting better at articulating it, but first of all, I'm not that great. This episode was a lot better than a couple episodes ago. And I think, I don't know, I need more time. I need more time to make these episodes a little bit better than they have been, these solo episodes. But I don't know. It's all improvement. It's all slow improvement, and that's all I can ask for, and it's all I get. So, I'm happy, guys. I hope you are too. I'll get you guys some more information about how the farm's going and what I've been up to recently, because I've got some fun stuff. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what I can do. I won't make any promises, but yeah. Fuck it, guys. You'll hear from me by the end of the week. If I say that, it means I have to. So there you go. Thank you guys for listening. If you would like to help out Yakkin with Nick at all, you can, first of all, donate. You can go to patreon.com/JUSTYAKKIN. Patreon.com/just Yakkin. If I make it to $25 a month, guys, I'll make a deal with you. If I am making $25, there's no excuse for not putting out a show a week. Like at that point, I will make sure. If you pay me $25 a month, I will do one show every week, at least. And if I don't do it, I'll send all... No, I was going to say, that's a lot of jerky. Fuck. I'll send the first person that calls me out a bag of jerky. How about that? The first person that calls me out. You can either do it by... Any way you can contact me. If you can text me... Don't. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, that'll be the deal. How about that? If I make it $25 a month on Patreon, if I miss a week, whoever is the first person to call me out on not releasing one in a week, let's say it's like within 6 days, even probably would be reasonable to call me out. I'll give you a bag of jerky, a bag of yak jerky. I've got like 3 people I need to send jerky to right now. It's hard to make it, honestly. Like it's first of all, like my cuts this time from this last yak were fatty. I think this yak will be a little bit better because the last yak I think was fed grain by his past owner, and he had some fat on him, which wasn't great to cut with because it sucks when you're cutting because fat doesn't spoil. I mean, fat does spoil a lot faster than meat does, and then, and then it's chewy as fuck. Like you can't, like fatty jerky is not fun. Like you just sit there and you chew on a dried piece of fat until all you have is fat there, and you no longer can taste the marinade. So I tried to trim off the fat, and this last yak wasn't that great. But this yak, he's looking a little bit better. I've been opening up a little bit here and there, and I think I'll make a batch of jerky sometime this week. I got some Worcestershire sauce, which I really like. I really like that on jerky, man. I'm getting a lot better at making jerky too. So, man, I forget I'm a businessman. I should be like, yeah, hey guys, I do sell jerky on the side, kind of. Oh, my ODA inspector's going to hear that and be like, does he have a smokehouse? Inspected facility? Listen, I don't sell jerky. That was a joke. But if you're interested in yak jerky, message me, email me on Facebook, or email me at yakkinwithnick@gmail.com. And if you... Never mind. That's it, guys. If you'd like to talk to me, respond and yak with Nick, hit me up at yakkinwithnick@gmail.com or on Facebook. If you go to Facebook, it's a long URL. I guess I can't really give you the Yakkin with Nick feedback group, but guess what? It is on... it's on Facebook. It'll be in the show notes. So with that, guys, thank you. And I will talk to you soon.